Women in leadership, this perspective is what we're looking into this morning. And she is one of those who disappeared. And then she'll tell us where she went. But she's here this morning anyway. Justina Wamae is a champion for economic democracy. And she is here with us this morning. Justina, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine.
Dennis, morning.
Morning.
Karibu.
Yes, asante sana.
You dropped off the scene for a minute there.
I went to build the nation in other ways, as well as rebranding. I came back as a champion for economic democracy.
Yes.
So rebranding is also important.
It is.
Yes, and now I'm back. Yes.
Karibu sana kabisa.
Asante.
Thank you so much for being here. We're going to look at a couple of things this morning necessary for us to do. We're also going to be joined in a short while by nominated Senator Tabitha Mutinda. She'll join us in a little bit as we, get into this conversation. Women in leadership, and looking at that perspective, somehow we progress, but somehow some of the same issues still find their way into this conversation. But we'll get into it. And even as we do, Dennis is going to share today's proverb. We'd like to hear an interpretation of it.
And see, when you talk about this progress, because I see the senator is making her way in, when we talk about this progress, a majority of it has been on empowering women. If you look at the constitution, 2/3 gender rule, making sure that equal opportunities, there is also equal pay for equal amount of work done. We talk about pay disparities when it comes to women, and it is a fight that continues to be there, and we hope that even in the political space it's something that we continue to push for. And Senator, karibu sana, we've been waiting for you. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we just go straight to the proverb now. Proverb comes from the eastern region, from the Kamba community to be specific, and the Kamba community, interesting community. Talk about history, long distance traders. What does that mean? They had been business people from way back. Talk about the challenges as well. Most of the region is drought stricken, but then again, look at the initiatives being put in place to ensure that is controlled. Today, if you want to have the best ndengu or lentils, kaban, and the mango season, you can't beat it. You can't just beat it. So when the time comes, yalla, my friends. But let's go to the proverb, right?
Yes.
A man who asks for direction never gets lost. It only had to come from long distance
traders, because they were moving around. I'll put it in the context of this conversation today. Probably we've come a long way in terms of women in leadership. And now we are lost in why are we progressing? Are we progressing or are we not progressing? That is a big question. I think it's time to ask for directions. Asking for directions, in my opinion, is we need to change the whole conversation. When I look at teachers and their marking scripts in a mixed school, I don't think they say this is a girl's script, this is a boy's script. They always focus on, did you understand the concept? Did you remember your applicability? So I think it's about time when we start packaging ourselves, we move away from the woman aspect of it, like the way people say in Kenya, governor ni mama, and then what beyond mama, and start focusing on the intellect. Because remember, our leadership is all about influencing and shaping policies and legislations that make life easier for Kenyans, So, and that is focusing more on the intellect and not that umama itself. So I think that the getting the directions, or asking for directions, is we change the whole conversation. And now women start highlighting their intellectual strength away from the umama, the uschana, the usupu. Yes.
Okay. Senator Karibu.
Asante. Thank you so much for having us. From the region, I didn't it's a regional conversation, but one thing, first of all, with the eastern region and the aspect of the long distance for years, we are a region that is very hardworking to start with, and in that long distance, we really learned how to create good networks, how to really be loyal. The eastern region is really positive when it comes to that. And it has also kept us, most of us say that this community does not grow old because the genes of really having the long distance for so many years have been generated from years to years. Yes, but narrowing it to today's conversation, first of all, thank you for allowing us to have, a women conversation. It's important, very key. But I also want to agree with my sister that it's the high time that we desist from presenting ourselves sort of like the weaker species, the weaker gender, like I'm a woman, so you should pity me, you should just pitifully vote for me, I look good, I look hot, you should no, that is wrong. It should be based on the agenda, on the strategies, on the manifesto, that we need to achieve. And teamwork is the way to go. We've seen our young people coming outside. They've come in carrying the Kenyan flag. They never came out saying, I'm from the Mount Kenya region, I'm from the Eastern region, I'm from the Western Rift Valley. No. They are also telling us, let us have a conversation of oneness. Let us have a conversation of moving together. Because at the end of the day, this is our country, this is our nation.
Well, all right then. And even as we get into it, so this is interesting because I pick up from something that both of you have said to talk about the fact that we are still looking into conversations around women in leadership. And if you want to talk about, now more than ever, I think you have the largest number of women in leadership positions when we talk about government, but then also in different sectors. And that's some of the things that we forget about, that community is not just government, that it is everything outside of government as well. So are we seeing that women have picked up certain batons in different areas then to lead? But then unfortunately, one thing that comes out clearly is that, it's beyond the Mimini Supu and all of that, but still it is used as a card that is put on the table, with one case that happened just this week alone, whereby a woman's anatomy is then brought into question. So even when you talk about moving, I'm saying that leadership, the things that we should be concerned about, citizenship, nationhood, and saying that you can build and that women can lead, and that it should be genderless when it comes to how we look at that leadership. Can you do that? And we'll start off with you, Justina. Can you do that if the old age issues still keep being drawn into the conversation?
I think we can. The Gen Zs have shown us that those old things, they keep on dragging us, but they're pulling themselves away from those old things. So we can do it. And I want to remind people in this country, especially Kenyans, we fail to remember that it's not about the role. It's not about senators being nominated. It goes towards now the impact. Why do we have senator there? There's one senator who came and told us that you try to push your agenda there. There is the issue of ranking members, House Business Committee. So it even goes back to those laws in Parliament. Do they curtail you to influence policy or legislations? So I think we need to also move away from how we see things maybe from a colonial perspective, or we do things that traditionally. How about we look at how do we fix things from a Kenyan way? If the Kenyan way is bulldozing and that's how we are used to do it, or bullying around, then let the laws reflect how we behave. So I think we can move away, but again, it requires that even these women who are in positions of power, these women who are nominated, it should go beyond them just being there. Yes, you are nominated for the numbers. What is their power towards influencing the legislation? So we can.
Senator?
First of all, we need to acknowledge as a country, we have the hardwares. The problem is the software. Where we are in terms of infrastructure, in terms of many other amenities, we have it in place. And our challenge, when I say it is a system, it's the software is us. The doers, the people who are supposed to do it. It's one thing to have a ministry, it's one thing to have an institution, but that is that institution running. That institution has to run. And the members who are running it, will be guided by their code and ethics and what makes them, what is their priority, in short. And if, as I said earlier, if our focus would be, I am in this category, so I can't do this, there's this, the focus should be what is the responsibility. Case example in our house, the Senate House, the chamber. At the end of the day, we are all senators with the same equal responsibility and mandate. The only difference is that at times, there are those bills that we can vote for, there are those ones that we can not vote for. There are those impeachments we can vote for, there are those that we don't vote for. But as much as we don't, there is the role that we play, the major role that we play. And the main focus at the end of the day, even if you're a member of parliament, in opposition, in government, or whatever. Kenyans are waiting for results. It doesn't matter. And that's why I'm saying the conversation should be, what is the goal at the end of the day? It doesn't matter you're nominated. It doesn't matter you're elected, because you're already there and you have the same opportunity and the same mandate like the others. When it comes to issues of ranking and all that, it's just a cultural respect that is normally in place. You remember when we were young and we used to use the public transport, and you're in the public transport, you're seated, and then an older person gets in. The culture allowed courteously. You just wake up and allow the older person to a bit sit. Unlike nowadays, things have really completely changed. It's about haki yangu. So there's the cultural perspective. Can we move away from the culture 100%? It's difficult, really, to just move away. Today, if I see an old woman around them, they're struggling. By nature of the culture, of the African culture, I might, I will help them to the level that of course I can. Same case to these houses. But there's the final role in terms of what you're supposed to do as a legislator.
So there is the aspect of whenever we have discussions or any conversation around women positions, it's always a card that is dangled as a token. This is a suite that women need to have, just so my manifesto looks good, just so I look as though I am championing for women's right. But then how do we move away from that culture and start saying, we want women in our party because of what they can deliver, what it is they will offer, how great they are in pushing the agenda that I have, as opposed to take this suite just comes just so I can get to power. Because we know women are majority, women have the votes.
I think what you do is probably now, if you're nominated and there are things you can't vote for, like we've been told by Senator, then it means that women need to vote for more women. But remember, the argument is you're not voting because this is a woman. You're voting because she has the intellectual capacity to influence and shape policies that make life easier for you. So even when the person is going out there, the person, I mean, the one who is seeking votes, can we develop a culture of understanding why are you seeking this position? And I think that is why we get lost, because I've looked for votes severally, and you see Kenyans are like, Maraka, what you're saying, because they're expecting you're giving them something, and if you don't give them they get tired. They don't even they're not focusing on you, and they're also waiting to leave my meeting and go to senator's meeting. So I think partly we should also blame the voters, because the conversation gets lost in how much money am I getting out of there. But again, like I say, these positions are about the impact. It's not about I have a position. What are you doing and what are you allowed to do out there? And that's why when Senator tells us that, there's some things you can vote for, okay, it's cultural and all that, then that is where the gap comes in, and you hear Kenyans are saying, we don't see the impact of these flower girls. You see now, because you're seen as a flower girl, because I think there's the limitation of what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to achieve. But
do you think then affirmative action failed in its mandate? Because what affirmative action was supposed to do was that you essentially force a situation, because previously, and which we accept, that women were not being put or taken or voted into these positions, and they said, look, there's got to be some kind of balance. So affirmative action was introduced to say, put them there, see the impact that they will have, and it then is supposed to be something that people can say, actually, you know what, this works. It was like with the education of girls. It had to happen at some point. Then you say, actually, you know what, it's a good thing that we educate girls. So affirmative action came about, put women in positions of leadership, and that's how we had the women rep position created, more or less. Put them in that position, and then you can see. Did affirmative action fail? Because then what we've been socially engineered to do is say, that's the token woman, so let's vote her in. It's kind of like in the US how they had token black people or token Asians to, be parts of movie scripts or things like that, or part of your workforce. Did it then achieve what it was meant to achieve? And should we still bank on it as a way for extra inclusivity? Should we?
Let me say this. First of all, the affirmative action has been very impactful, very, and this is the seat, or this is the position. Mostly the women rep that as women were given an opportunity as the women gender to be able to go out there, vie for this position, and it gives us an opportunity to be able now to deal with the more gender-based issue moving forward. So the fund has been, very well utilized. The fund has been very much impactful.
In GAF that we're talking about?
In GAF, of course. It has been positive. We've seen our colleague women leaders being able to be out there and be able to address the issues, narrowing now mostly to the issues affecting gender. Gender is not only girl, child, it cuts across. But there has been an opportunity. There has been also an opportunity for more women to have an opportunity to be in parliament. And that is what this came about, for you to be able to achieve this. But you see, there are also challenges that us as women face. First of all is the violence that we face. You find that when we are in the field, when we're on the ground rather, the way I'll be received and the way a male colleague will be received is totally very different.
How so?
Completely very different. Because the environment is normally very hostile. And the expenditure also financially is very, very huge. Because you find that I have to have a bigger security than a male counterpart. It's completely very different. There's also where we're coming from, the cultural, whereby if your spouse or your family does not support you as a woman, they feel that when you go there, you might be headed and things like that. And so you find that
and
there
this
are those
is not
challenges.
applicable. It does not happen with men. If a man were to come up and people are not judging him based on his family,
men are never judged. There are those things also that men can do out there, and it's not a big deal. It's like we've normalized or any negative that a male leader can do. It's not a big deal. For example, even when they go drinking and stuff happen, but when a woman, for example, does that, it's chaotic. It's what's going to trend. The cyberbullying that we see happening, attacking women, it's on another level completely. And let me tell you, even the women who are in leadership, you need to have, strength. You need to have more than a sixth sense. You need to have the zeal. It's too much, because it's so you observed. You want to look at a woman in terms of your looks, in terms of the sexuality, how your figure is, and things like that. Whereby we lose the focus. You've seen how women have been insulted. Look at our women rep in Nairobi just a few weeks ago. She just presented a bill. Okay, it might not have really
resonated with the people,
or resonated with most of them. But how did it narrow to?
Yeah.
It was insult. It should have been, no, remove this clause, do this clause, or simply don't do the bill. It's okay. It's a communication. But what did she do? She received negativity. When the Gen Z started demonstrating last year, and some of the leaders started coming out, what happened? They said, no, go back. We don't want you here. It needs to be a conversation that narrows to what do we need to achieve
but
at the end
I'm
of
sorry,
the day.
but did that happen because she's a woman, or did it happen because the people did not resonate with what she was saying? That many people would say today, Senator, that whether it was Esther Passaris who came up with this bill, or whether it was anybody else, that Kenyans would have still said no. So is it because she's a woman that people now said, well, whatever has been put in this bill, we are against it? Does the gender factor come in here at all?
What I'm trying to narrow to is, either would have been a male counterpart, of course, or any other female counterpart. What I'm trying to say is that the kind of insult that she received,
a male would not have received the same?
It would not have really sounded the same. No, it would not have really sounded the same. The way male counterparts are even insulted, even when they get those insults, it's different. This one for women, it narrows. And they also get so vulgar to extent of sending you some photos that you wonder, why did he have to get to this particular point? That is the difference. I remember even during Gen Z when they said to Salimie Wabunge, you remember that particular time? And what was happening? What was that salamu? It was, sending photos. I can't even say the kind of photos on this platform, but that is what was happening. And especially to the women leaders, it was disastrous.
Which brings me to the next aspect of it all. When you read the Constitution, especially when it talks about women's presence, two-thirds gender rule, it is not a favor. It is a right that has been given to women, right? But then again, we come to the citizens, the voters themselves. are they ready to have women in these positions? Are they ready to say, we will vote for a woman because they will do A, B, C, D, as opposed to, we're just voting for you because, the Constitution says so, whatever. And if the citizenry is not ready to vote for a woman, then how do we change that conversations so that they look at women as leaders, as those who will deliver to the aspirations that we have?
I think it goes back to the question Du asked, did affirmative action fail? I think it failed because the ones who are given the opportunity somehow fell short of the expectation of Kenyans. And that's why you see some Kenyans saying, oh, this one looks like a socialite, this one would have done better, as because when the Kenyans look at the role you've been given, are you really behaving towards that role? You're not reflecting the role, and then therefore it lacks impact. So I think it comes back to now there that the women who came before us failed. But again, when we also look at even the fund, the GAF fund, what do many women reps do? They end up giving pads most of the time, and then the men are lost. Where are we coming in? Yeah. So even in as much as the women rep, they're saying, no, we are here to represent the gender aspect. Men fall short of where do we come in this example, in this conversation. So at least it's a woman conversation, the men stay out of it. And then also when you asked, are Kenyans ready? Are the voters really ready? They are not ready because of what they have seen or their perception of the women who are already in power. But what can we do? That's why I always say, let us present ourselves from an intellectual perspective. When I come here, I'm running for governor. Let me talk about how we are going, the projects I have, proposals to focus, to link my proposals from the county with the National Assembly. What am I going to take to the Council of Governors? How am I going to make policies that even if you don't pay for licenses, my kanjos won't come to pick your blood dry because you've not paid for license? When we start talking about things that are impactful, away from governor ni mama, because that thing really doesn't mix. Okay, ni mama, so what? She's not there because of her reproductive part. She's there because of her intellect. When we start presenting ourselves from an intellect perspective, if you're running for president, you say, we are talking about the tax policy, we're having an economic conversation in politics, we're talking about the labor laws, trainings. When you come presenting yourself from a professional angle, I think Kenyans kind of forget about the bimbo thing, the argument, you're beautiful, and they start focusing on what you're saying. So I think in as much as, yes, we lack the finances, true women lack finances, and when you go on the ground, you're seen differently. If we presented ourselves as a solution to the problems affecting Kenyans, away from dancing and being told to turn around, maybe Kenyans will start seeing things differently.
Indeed, maybe they would. Well, Senator, let's take one for you before we take a break.
Okay. I just wanted to say that we are the problem as women's. Because you find that when we are saying that all that the fund did or has done, the Affirmative Action Fund, is just to distribute funds alone. I mean, even the few positions that women have in this country, we castigate the same women. We pull them down. We push them down. Unlike when you see a male counterpart, even, pulling another male down. And we give the male an opportunity to have something now to put the women down. Because it is us women now who pull other women down. That is where the problem is. Because if my sister is saying that the fund has done nothing and all that it has done is the issue of just distribution of pads, I mean, also the fund has its own mandate, what it's supposed to do. When it comes to issues of the bit of the social aspects, dancing here and there, the male counterparts also do stuff, and even worse stuff. But you will never see male or men castigating these men. They don't do that. But women, that is, what you're really judged with. Not looking at what other intellectual conversations you can be able to have. The problem is us. Because when you see that particular leader, today tell me, what is wrong with someone like Mother Karua coming out and doing a dance, for example, with the young people and all that? You cannot just judge somebody with one social, and everybody has a life. And you look at even when men do stuff, men do not go out there shouting and castigating this particular man as a leader. It doesn't happen. The problem is us women, we push each other down. We are the majority voters. We have allowed men to radicalize us as women and say, she cannot do it. She cannot do it. Because we are allowing these conversations to sound like that. We are allowing and say the women positions are not working. Us as women, we are allowing. Men are now laughing at the back and say, you see, we like it like that. We want it like that.
Let's take a break.
We want to be left alone in this assembly.
Sanita, I think that's an extremely important point that you've brought up, because then let's look at that particular position when we come back from this break, what it was meant to do vis-a-vis what it has actually achieved and what it is doing today. Because Affirmative Action insisted that that position be created so that we can see, number one, how women would actually govern, number two, the impacts that will be felt because they've been put in those positions, and what do they do with the legislation, what do they do with the representation, and what do they do then with the oversight in those positions, because they are members of parliament.
Correct.
They are.
Yes.
So what has it actually achieved, and can we say that it has then lived out what it was supposed to do from the beginning? Are women held to higher standards by women? When we look at governance and we say, okay, well, you know, we're not going to really look at a man, but is it innate that men and women expect women to do better? That's why you talk about we failed ourselves. That's why you talk about, well, you've had this position and what have you actually done with this position that you have had? Do we hold women to a higher standard?
Definitely. Women are held to a higher standard. But again, I would like to remind men that when in Jomo Kenyatta's cabinet, I doubt there was a woman. So, of course, men have been there before us. They have goofed around. And maybe we are goofing now as women. Unfortunately, we are goofing at a time where this technology, people are looking out at what you're behaving or what you're doing. They are so keen at your behavior. So I think it calls for you to also change how you behave. We will not stick there and say, okay, fine, we are goofing, we are human, we have a life beyond. But it doesn't allow us to show the life beyond. To be honest, even when women are depicted, maybe you're like a senator and the media comes to your house and you're showing people how you cook. The men are not done such kind of interviews. So it ends up lowering how Kenyans see you as an influencer of policy and legislations. And that is why I was saying, in as much as the fund that women get is lower than CDF, many a times maybe they see the only way to be seen on the ground is giving pads. But when you look at Article 100, it's where women and youth and people with disability come in. Then why not influence policies that allow the women also to afford these pads, to afford the bursaries instead of giving handouts? How about to change the conversation that, why should we have CDF to give people handouts, to give people bursaries for 2,000, to give women pads? How about to empower them economically, that you have your own money so that government moves away from being seen it's giving handouts to that people are empowered to buy their own pads, to pay their own school fees? I think that will be more impactful to the citizens who expect more. To be very honest, the citizens are way ahead and I've always said this, the citizens are way ahead of our leadership. So in as much as our leadership are saying, let me be seen on the ground, giving pads, but the people, there's some people who say, me, I can afford my pads, or others are saying, why can't you empower me to buy my own pads instead of using this fund to give me the pads?
Senator?
Yes, women are really held to higher standards than men, which is very unfair. Very unfair. As legislators, our role is the same: to legislate, to represent, to oversight. We sit in committees, both male and female. We execute the same role. We are paid the same amount. We have the same privileges. We're doing work for the same Kenyans. Kwani women are doing work for a different Kenya, different Kenyans, and male are doing work for this kind of, a different group of Kenyans. No, we're doing work for the same people. But you find that the oversight for women is on another level extremely. And we are human beings. Who's perfect? We are human beings. And the only focus that is given is, how did she has danced. No, she should not dance. She has gone to have coffee with a friend. No, she should not. The media is doing wrong. Why are you interviewing them? Why are you interviewing them when they're in their homes? Why are you doing that, media, by the way? I've been here on KTN. I've done, I think, Mjue, Kiongozi Wako. I've done on TV 47 and all that. Why does media do that? They just do that. They want to encourage. They've done Mwanamke Bomba. There's something like that. They've done that so that they encourage the other women. How did your journey start? Where did you come from? How have you made it? What should you do? How should you encourage the others who also want to be there? And the most difficult seat, let me tell you, is a nominated seat. Because it's small in terms of numbers, being chosen from 50 million Kenyans. It's not like a county or even a constituency where you just talk to your numbers in that particular area. The nominated seat is the most difficult. It's a party decision. And you have to be selected from a huge number. Number 2, look at the position. As a senator, what are you supposed to do? The same 3 things: legislative oversight and represent. Have we done that? That's what we do. We don't build schools. Ours is mostly to oversight the governors. And that's what we do. Are we doing that? We are doing that. Through what? Through the committees. If there's a report that needs to be presented to the EACC, we do the recommendations as required. And that is our role. Yes, there are those leaders, both male and female, who might not have angered the citizens, who've done things that are contrary to Chapter 6, not to the standard of a leader. Yes, it's true. We are not all perfect. But it doesn't mean if Mheshimiwa Wamae today does something that doesn't please you, it doesn't mean all women are bad. It is wrong to put us all in that one basket. And that's why I say the problem is the women. Because they're the same women who put that particular woman leader to that bottom place. But if a man has done something that is, of course, off, nobody so much concentrates with them, And yet, as I said earlier, women, we are the majority, and we are the ones who actually are in the first lineup of the voting. When we also talk about the issue of the mandate, the responsibility of us as leaders, as I said, it will be unfair to say women have done this and men have done this. It should be an oversight for all leaders altogether. The conversation should be not narrowing to that only women and men aside. It should be, what do we need to do together? And the conversation that should be there moving forward, it should be that we should be supporting a woman president. In future, we have the numbers. We should stop, and I would encourage women to stop really hammering the women leaders that much. It's quite discouraging. When someone says, what have you done? What have I done for you personally? Or what I've done is what is within my mandate. Have I done my oversight? Have I done my legislation? Have I done my representation? I've done that. Some will even ask you, how many people have you employed? I'm not an employing authority. I am not. To be very honest, you understand? But when we bring conversations, for example, it's just an example, that yes, can we consolidate all this bursary that is with the women rep, that is with the county governors, that with the members of parliament, and offer a free education? That is excellent. That cuts across.
And it shouldn't matter who brings it to the table.
Exactly. And we should support. But if a woman brings that, stands and says, this should be the way to go. Look at you. You cannot even walk properly. Look at you. You cannot even dress properly. What does my dress code have to do with a conversation that says, let us bring all these bursaries together and have free education? That is what should be encouraged. We are narrowing and focusing on how someone looks, how someone has spoken, how they speak, how they dress, and how they do that. That is their own personal life. When they come to the voting, if you don't like them because they dress badly, it's fine. If you don't like them because they have a big head, it's fine. What should be important is the leadership that they offer.
Why does that happen? And I want to marry it with what, Justina, you had said earlier, where you say it should be the intellectual, it should be intellectuality that is considered when we're talking about leadership. When I come and I ask, well, okay, everybody presents their CV, essentially. It doesn't matter whether you're female or male, and that we look at the things that you've been able to achieve. But why does that happen, that your gender is questioned, or things that about you are questioned on the basis of your gender? Why does that happen?
I think it goes back to those women who were there before us, those ones who are put on that mirror, that weighing scale. How did they present themselves? And unfortunately, the voters are always stuck into that angle. And that's why she mentioned, Mheshimiwa mentioned a point about we should support a woman president. I agree. But I want to remind voters that voters, you are supposed to maximize on utility. Utility is the benefit you get by having that person in power when it comes to influencing policy. But then we need to remind the voters that politicians' work is to maximize on votes. So then they'll come. So there are two conflicting ideologies here. You're supposed to maximize on utility. The politicians are maximizing on votes. So for them to get votes, they can promise you anything. But you, from a utility perspective, or the benefit of having that person there, what are you getting out of it? And that is why I'm saying we need to go back to what are the policy proposals, legislative proposals in the manifesto. So for me, when I'm saying if I vie for president, yes, I'm looking out for the woman vote. But in addition to the woman vote, I'm looking out for Kenyans who will vote for me because the policy proposals, the legislative proposals are making sense to them and they're benefiting in terms of getting them to the next vision. Remember, we are 60 years old. We've been having this argument of women vote, women are doing this. How about now we change the conversation? Instead of looking like we are competing with the men, then let's beat them intellectually. I mean, when the teacher is marking this script, does she say this is Dennis and this is Justina? No, they look at our ability to absorb what was taught in class. So if we all started angling and shaping the narrative, including the media, towards what are you telling us beyond the umama and the whatever, what are you telling us? I think that will also make the voters start seeing things from a different perspective. Yeah. There's this argument, people say, oh yeah, people voted for Ruto, and they say they didn't vote for Ruto the man, they voted for bottom up. If we start showing it like that, and others, people voted for Raila, yes, because of the policy of the 6,000 if we divorce the person and focus on what they were proposing, I think even the voters will now start seeing beyond Justina, this is the argument that they're bringing forth. Yes.
Senator, you see, we look at what Kenyans are saying, and Kenyans are going harm, and we are in the information age where anything you say will always be used against you or for you. But here we are in terms of changing the narrative based off what we have done with the opportunities that we have been given. As we speak today, you are nominated senator, and one would say if you're going to vie next, you would be judged based off what you did with the opportunity that you have today. Where you sit, are Kenyans able, or would be your supporters able to say, I will vote for my senator to get in the second time elected based off what she did on the floor of the House?
Let me pick from where my sister's left. And she's brought out that we should judge leaders by their intellectual capacity. That one I agree with her. We should not judge women leaders by their sexuality and any other mandate, their dress code and all that. To me, that is not fair completely. But if I'm going to look at her and look at how she presents the issues and give her a vote, that should be the way to go. But these others, we should not entertain as women at all completely. And we should not allow men to use how we castigate our fellow women to put each other down. That should not be the conversation. Let's allow each other to really discuss matters on table, matters that move this country forward. The other thing is, I've heard her talk about this issue. She has really repeated it in terms of why do we say governor ni mama, governor ni mama. In politics, when you're on the ground, slogans just come. And these slogans come from the voters themselves. At times, I also go to the ground. They give me some names, from how they view, from how they look at me, So these names normally come from the people. We also have, because today the Eastern region is here, we also have in the Ukambani where we say Kava Mama, like Afadhali Mama, that's what it means. And it's a narrative that comes from the people on the ground. They embrace it, they do it. Not that the women governors that are in position are positioning themselves, I'm a woman, vote for me because I'm a woman. No, not really. But these are just slogans that come from all over. They come in all sort of manners. Narrowing to today, because I'll be going for position in 2027. What have I done what I'm supposed to do? 100%. My responsibilities are 3: to oversight, to legislate, and to represent. Have I done that? I have done that. I don't build roads for you to ask me, which road have you done with the fund that you are given, for example? Do I build classrooms? I don't build classrooms. How many people have you given bursary? I don't distribute bursaries. My mandate is just narrowed to that. Have I done that? I have done that. Have I presented leadership and offered a solution in terms of what is happening even today as our country? I have said we should have a national dialogue. It doesn't matter which political party you are in. We are forgetting that we are Kenyans. We are forgetting today, if Mandamano starts here and goons are coming here, you'll be surrendered because you've tagged yourself and said, I am from this region, I am from this region. It's affecting all of us. I've seen my Nairobi people where I represent here in Nairobi, businesses have been affected. And we want to sit back and say, it's okay, let it continue. And we want to allow some leaders to say it is a certain community that is being targeted. When those Gen Zs came out on the streets, were they branding themselves and say, we are this community, so we are attacking? It is wrong. And I want to encourage our young people, by the way, before I forget, moving forward, when they will be blessed and start having families, we should now start desisting, calling our children those vernacular names. If we've named her Tabitha, and your husband is called Enoch, for example, name her Tabitha Enoch. Let us have that birth certificate like that. Because now, this tribal card is still a problem. Up to date, we are still continuing generation by generation. And the young people, when they are coming out, they don't want tribal.
Therefore,
they don't want to be grouped. Because I am Meru, I am Kamba, I am this kind of community. They don't want. They want a conversation that talks about job opportunities for them. And we are telling them, can you stop destroying even the few jobs that are there for those people? And we have a conversation, come on table, we have a conversation of how, then do we improve this? Where is the challenge? We need the business people on table. We need the church leaders. From Monday, I've not had church leaders coming aboard, doing pressers and say, this destruction of people's businesses is wrong. We are not hearing that. I do not agree with shooting completely. And I really condole with the families that have lost their beloved ones. Look at that young girl who was watching TV. And this stray bullet finished her. I don't agree to that. And the conversation should be solutionable. Should not be, today I'm wearing a trouser. Who said I should be wearing long dresses all the time? No.
Which means you agree
Listen to what I say.
Wamae.
Don't look at how,
Listen to what I say and not how I look, essentially what we're talking about now. The conversation must take an intellectual shift, that it shouldn't matter what you look like or what gender you are. It is the policy. It's not the person, Justina, it's the policy.
Yes. Yes. And that's why let me add on to the national dialogue. May it not be lost to Kenyans that anyone who is elected, those ones who are in parliament, anyone who is appointed, those ones who are in executive, draw large salaries and allowances. They are the ones who should be giving us solutions, because they are there at that level, that at that strategic level, to make choices, to make decisions that add value, that are going to take this country forward. So when they tell us to sit down, they are laughing at us, because then they're adding a salary and then they're expecting solutions from us. They have the brains. Can they make their brains work to give us solutions? Not unless they're telling us they're the wrong people for the job. If they cannot give us the solution, because they're the ones who are there to look at where are we taking this country. The president has been arguing, time for Kibaki, you are not bringing issues. Was there unemployment? True. But unfortunately for him, the population that is not employed has come of age during his time. So because he's drawing a large salary, because he was voted overwhelmingly for that position, and he's there, he should give us the solution to that through policy and legislative proposals. Us out here, we are expecting him to give us directions. So we cannot come and say, we are going to help them give solutions. Can they put their brain to work so they give us a solution and a way forward?
Let me say this. I know our time has moved. You see, salary is not everything. Either you earn 10 million, we have corporate CEOs who are earning millions in this country. Some of them are not even known. It's not about the money that you earn. That aside, it's about the solutions that we move forward. And Dr. William Ruto, our president, has, with the manifesto that we had as Kenya Kwanza, look at the cost of unga. It has gone down. Look at the provision of the Hustler Fund. He brought Hustler Fund so that the business people can be able to get to borrow and be able to improve their businesses. Look at the issue of the infrastructure. Look at the housing sector. Look at the employment that is there for our young people that has been offered. Move to health issues, the SHA issues. I heard the minister the other day gave a good report in terms of where we are as far as health issues are concerned.
No matter how good or bad.
We've had challenges. We don't refuse. We've had challenges.
I mean, for sure.
But at least there's something that has been done, and more employment. The issues of universal health workers who have been striking over years, they are going to be paid. They are going to get their remittances on time, and that is going to be sorted. Our doctors and all that.
And time will tell.
Yes.
We have to end this conversation here. But then to be able to say that, choose the policy over the person, and then to see the manifestation of that, I think is one of the things that's come up very clearly from this today. Justina Wamae is a champion for economic democracy, and joining us also Tabitha Mutinda, nominated senator. Thank you both for being here this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.